Well,
Never mind.
He said,
you still got 30 seconds though.
Hey, me knowing how to delay his story, he must have already pressed the hoe when he said, I'm finna go live. Cause me knowing a few times I didn't got caught type of shit. Like, yeah, he didn't press that mug. And two, he say, I got it timed perfectly when we play our demo. And that's how I know I'm saying cut the live
Once to
off.
end it, yeah,
To
to
end
end
it. So I
it,
know it's a
yeah.
delay to end it. If you can
Yeah.
hit end live and it still show the end of the video.
Yeah. Hey, Ethereal Beauty in the building. She says she's here first. Thank you.
Shout out to
Zien
Beauty,
is in
man. I'm
here
on my
second.
phone. I got this funky setup today, man. You know what I mean? Shout out to shout out to the team, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? Toya G and Political Plug, you feel me? I always gonna hold it down nice, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna be here long today, but my team gonna, you feel me, they got it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm really curious what y'all thoughts is specifically on, you know what I'm saying, this woman that got this young child. Don't even call her a woman, because you gotta watch your language when you're talking about, you feel me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, just a quick explanation. We here on a Wednesday because we wanted to talk to y'all about this Derek Chauvin. You know what I'm saying? Nonsense. Well, not necessarily nonsense because it was a good thing. You know what I mean? He got locked up, whatever. But the conversation still has to continue for very specific reasons. But then we also have the conversation about Ma'Khia Bryant and the way that people are responding to.
Toya, is it Ma'Khia or Ma'Khia?
It's Ma'Khia.
It's Ma'Khia.
Ma'Khia. So yeah. It's still an interesting conversation that needs to be had. Y'all know we got the chop up, got to have it. You feel me? Who's trying to bring it in? Who's trying to do the
I'm
thing?
gonna bring it in because I got the Snapchat, whatever I tried to say, the Snapchat.
What did you say?
I don't even know what I tried to do. Wait, because it's my 18th birthday and I have nothing else today. Jamar, we love you. So sorry. We're gonna get it excited. But then, what we're gonna do is start the show. I'm gonna holler at y'all with really a PSA. I have an action item for y'all to jump on top of, and I need the Chop Nation to rise to the occasion. So I'm gonna talk to you about what that is, and then we're gonna jump into the issues going down with the surrounding the death of Ma'Khia Bryant, and then we're gonna talk about Derek Chauvin, and we're gonna call it good. In and out operation on a Wednesday. Big love to y'all. Let's get it rolling.
All right. Well, you know, we got to start the show the way we start the show every week. Let's get it.
My guys, we really live. Lord forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside. And that's in the console. Keep the semi when I ride. Let off Henny when I drive. In the city, we gon' slide. Bet I be there pronto.
And soon when I fly.
Yeah.
Start feeling it. That's how good. That's how in the zone we are this evening. Boys start freestyling over the freestyle. You know what I'm saying? We feeling good. Y'all know what it is. The intro said it all. It's the Chop Up Show. We happy to be with y'all on this Wednesday night. We switched the swag up just real quick because we have a lot of things. It seems like the news just not stopping these days. So we got to jump into it and get on the job talking about the latest in our society. Ethereal Beauty said it best. Make sure you liking it up, loving it up, sharing it up, subscribing it up if you're new to the game.
All that.
Things. Make sure you tap into it so we can get down with the get down. I'm not gonna waste no more time talking about myself because I got two dope people with me. Who else is on the show?
Yeah. You know.
It's your boy Damo, the Political Plug. We're in the building. I have a take that I haven't heard on a lot of these conversations. You feel me? And I'm ready to get to it.
Yeah, man. It's George Lee, aka Conscious Lee. Don't forget the Lee. GeorgeLeeSpeaks.com. If you ain't been there yet, go and check it out today. And you know, today ain't gonna be here long, but I'm really definitely ready to get into this conversation about Ma'Khia Bryant because
God.
So let's get it. Let's get it. Shout out to the boy and Pooh in the chat. Shout out Solar Vision Debate League and Pooh in the building. What's good with your boy?
Good to see you. Shout out to everybody in the comments. All right, Pete. This is the Snapchat. For the Snapchat, I have an action item. If y'all have Twitter accounts, I need y'all to get on Twitter right now. If not, you can go ahead and go to your email inbox, do all of those things. But what we need to do is censor as we talk about all of these cases, like the Derek Chauvin case, like the upcoming Adam Toledo case, like the Dante Wright case that we about to get into. It's a lot of just heavy stuff out here, and we know that the stats are not good for us to get our way, right? To hold people accountable. Specifically in terms of Breonna Taylor, we cannot forget that justice was not served in the city of Louisville. Those officers went free and people still need to be held accountable. And right now, we are putting our attention of accountability on the mayor of Louisville, who goes by the name of Mayor Fisher. Now, what we want to do with Mayor Fisher, I don't know if y'all follow on the Instagram, and I don't know if y'all follow on the Twitter, but I posted this morning a picture, a screenshot that looks like this, hashtag Fire Fisher. And on it, it has an email, it has a tweet, and it has a phone number you can call. I need y'all to go and work y'all's angles. If you want to send an email to the U.S. Board of Mayors. If you want to send a tweet, go to our Twitter, the Chop Up Show Pod, at Chop Up Show Pod on Twitter, and retweet the tweet that we had, or tweet it and say your own little razzle dazzle. Just copy it and paste it and put your own business in there. But we want to try to get Mayor Fisher out of the city of Louisville. Greg Fisher has been problematic from start to finish before the issue with Breonna Taylor happened, since it happened, and it looks like if he stays in power, these issues will persist. So I need y'all to send these tweets. I need y'all to call the number and send an email. The post is on all of the accounts. But we are going hard on the Fire Fisher campaign. Real quick, we want to give love to Chantrice Martin. Chantrice is one of our sisters who, is definitely one of the OGs of debate for all of us, who really started the path of pushing the questions and making the arguments that forced us to look at what it means for Black people to have access to this activity. And since then, Chantrice has gone to the city of Louisville and started to demand and be an activist to change in terms of food deserts. She's been challenging the access that Black people have to healthy, clean, safe, accessible food, and has since started the Black Market Kentucky down there, and has been working hard. And now, in addition to dealing with food deserts, she's taken up police brutality, and she's taken up defunding the police, right? That's the new action. So real quick, I want to read Chantrice's list of demands outside of removing Mayor Greg Fisher. Right, outside of firing him, these are the list of demands that are happening down there in Louisville. First of all, immediately fire and revoke the pensions of the officers that murdered Breonna Taylor. Second, divest from the Louisville Metro Police Department and invest in community building. Third, the immediate resignation or impeachment of Mayor Greg Fisher. Fourth, Metro Council ends the use of force by the Louisville Metro Police Department. Police shootings are officially classified as gun violence. 5, the local civilian community police accountability council that is independent from the mayor's office and Louisville Metro Police Department with investigation and discipline power, hashtag CPAC. And then the last demand is the creation of policy to ensure transparent investigation and processes. I need y'all to go send these tweets. I need you to go retweet them. I need you to share them on your stories. We're really trying to get a big social media push, and we're depending on y'all's participation. So real quick, if I can get your support in the comments to do this, drop me the comment chopped up real quick. I just want to see if we tapped in, if y'all tag what we got going on, drop in the comments chopped up if y'all gonna go ahead and handle that for us as we attempt to signal boost the attempt to fire Mayor Greg Fisher of the city of Louisville, Kentucky for his negligence, for his improper approach to dealing with Black and brown communities, and for his mishandling of the Breonna Taylor murder by the police in the Louisville Metro Police Department. If we chopped up, send me them comments. Let me know y'all tagged into us, tapped into us. And ain't really no conversation. This is an action item. We need y'all working. We need y'all moving. We're happy to have y'all in our network, in your Top Nation, in our family. And this is one that we got to handle for Breonna. So go ahead and get that done. I'll see y'all in the comments chopped up. Share it everywhere. And that's the snapshot.
Man, let's go. Shout out to Chantrice.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chantrice. Definitely shout out to Chantrice.
We working. What's the next chop? Who want to take the next one?
Go ahead, Lee. Go ahead and knock this one out.
This next chop is we're gonna call it the reality chop, because we know that in reality, even though we want to kind of be able to celebrate these, I feel like these kind of temporary victories. That's what I feel bad calling it that, but you know what I'm saying, we call it temporary victories. We understand that reality hit us real fast all the time. So we know that literally minutes, maybe an hour after we got the verdict from the Derek Chauvin trial of him being found guilty on all 3 charges, we know that in Ohio, the state of Ohio, a 16-year-old girl called the police because she was being, she was being jumped at her, her residence. She called the police for help. Within how many seconds, Toya?
20.
Within 20 seconds of the police arriving, 5 shots was fired, and you feel me? It resulted into a young woman, I mean a young child. You feel me? We want to make sure we're being careful with the language, because we know that sometimes I feel like we rob Black children of their childhood, especially young
their
Black
youth,
girls. You feel me?
for their youth, for
So,
their innocence.
Definitely, ended with her, you know what I'm saying, being killed, being shot in the chest 4 times. She did have a knife. She was defending herself, you know what I'm saying, looking like she was possibly about to stab the person that she was defending herself against. And since that has happened, today and yesterday, there's been a lot of things that has been said. And I'm just curious right now, based off of what y'all know about, you know what I'm saying, what's going down. What is y'all argument in terms of people saying this is justified killing? Like, straight to the point.
That shit is violent as hell. And it is a stark reminder. Every time a Black woman dies, we get reminded of the different rules that that society plays when it comes to Black women being killed. When Corinne Gaines got killed, oh, she was sitting in her apartment with a gun, this and that, whatever. When Breonna Taylor got killed, people was like, well, you do gotta watch the company you keep. You up here messing around with such and such and such, whatever. It was always an out, always an explanation or a justification for Black women being killed. Yet when Black people get killed, we take a step back and we really wipe the slate clean. We say they bet not post no pictures that look like this. They bet not talk about them like this. And look at them criminalize this, that, and the other. And criminalizing them, this, that, and the other. But we're doing that to her. And I saw a lot of tweets. I saw a lot of, once video and footage and pictures came out, I saw a lot of disheartening messages from people, tweets, Instagram posts, Facebook posts of just, she deserved it. And I was dumbfounded by that. I don't know what human walking this earth got the right, really, when it's all said and done, even with the most heinous issues, to say somebody deserved to die. Them is heavy words. You got to be careful how you say that, how you talk about it.
Man, listen.
Heavy words.
Listen.
If you knew anything about the details of it, you could tell you talking out your side of your neck when you say that. Because if you knew anything about the details of the situation and piece them together, you wouldn't be able to formulate that thought. So that was my reaction.
Yeah, the crazy thing about it to me is just that it's just a question of due process. We was talking about this earlier. When it comes to, like, again, we got the Derek Chauvin backdrop, and we're gonna talk about that today too. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like looking at those things as victories and all of that shit, this is why, and I think the reality chop is very it's on point in terms of the conversation, because it was a quick check. Like, no, this is still normalized. You feel me? Like, the young woman was denied due process. That cop showed up and within 20 seconds was the judge, jury, and the executioner. Right? We pretend to take like shit like the death penalty serious in this country, but when cops literally have the ability to decide at that moment who is like who should live or who should die. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really got to take a look at what does it mean to provide due process? At what point does that start? And if all of these Black people, at the bare minimum, if you don't respect the life of the people that's getting killed, if you don't think Black lives fucking matter, at the bare minimum, if you respect law and order, they are being denied due process every time this happens.
Facts.
At the bare fucking minimum, regardless of what you like of how you thought they were behaving, the whole innocent until proven guilty concept has to do with, okay, let's get the facts of the matter and then make a decision on how we should go about what punishment should look like. And when you have Black people being consistently denied this process, even if you think they were doing something wrong, even if you think that they kind of provoked the scenario, everybody is still is supposed to be afforded the right to have a day in court, explain what it looked like, what it looked like on, you know what I'm saying, when people first showed up, and when police decide to just fire them shots off break, right? At a bare minimum, they are being denied that right.
Yeah, and just to keep the conversation going, I'm gonna pose a question, then I gotta get out and head to this. But I seen that the mayor of the city where she was killed at said that the police officer had to make a decision to, you know what I'm saying, to defend the other person's life, and that's what he did. What do y'all think is the culpability or the responsibility that, you feel me, that this creates in terms of dialogue, in terms of victim blaming specifically for this young woman, for this young child that got killed?
worst approach to victim blaming in the world, because my question I have when you say stuff to that, and what in the hell are y'all teaching at the academy? What and secondly, why do you keep putting these tasers on your belt if those are just non-options for you? They're just for decoration. They're just to make you feel good, I guess, to have options, door number one, door number two, but it does not seem like these officers use them. And then I'm just really trying to figure out what they teach at the academy. I've been wondering what the purpose is of shoot to kill versus shoot to disarm or shoot to disengage, right? I posted on Twitter and talked to somebody specifically today. They were like, you have to neutralize the threat. No, you neutralize the threat in the situation. You don't neutralize people. So if a knife is a threat, she should have one less hand today. I'm with it. I think I can sleep at night knowing that somebody who had a weapon that was targeting another human life, even though she was outraged and didn't know there was people coming and going and authorities and she's just fighting for her life, maybe no hand. I'll sleep.
Yeah, all the limbs you could have hit.
Maybe a lack of a leg. Maybe she goes down because she was shot in the foot or in the thigh or something like that. And we hope for the best and people are able to render aid. But what do you do with 4 bullet holes in your chest? When 20 seconds the police have come towards you, haven't stopped to figure out who's the one who called, who started the altercation, what freeze? How do you have enough time to say that, to respond, to allow people to adjust to that and still walk away from it alive? You don't when you have an intent to kill.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is this reminds me of Tamir Rice. This is not new news.
Beat me to it. I know Dom about to say something. I know they hit me about to get out, but just the last thing I want to say in this. I know you're about to keep the conversation jumping. I can't wait to watch this in the morning and see. But it's just, if there are multiple, if you have all these alternatives in terms of taser, mace, rubber bullet, left arm, right arm, left leg, right leg, it's like I don't know in what world you're able to justify using deadly force, especially with the child. And two, it's just a rhetorical question. What does it look like, Toya, if you call the police to help you at your residence where you live, where you know what I'm saying, where you at, and the police pull up and see you feel me, basically defending yourself against an intruder or somebody that come and do you ill will, and they do something to you in protection of the person that you call for? Like what like in that world, what is the scenario?
If you didn't create stand your ground laws for no other reason, you created it for this situation. If they didn't exist for nothing, but George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, you can apply it to that. You can apply it to the complete sense of the world. But this young lady couldn't defend herself on her own property with a weapon because she felt threatened and was not about to, and called the authorities, called for help. So imagine this. You know what pisses me off about this the most? The second of relief that she felt before her life got took. The sliver of, oh shit, they here. Before she got killed by him. Do you know that is what pisses me off the most?
Me too.
Them lights heard woo woo and said, "Oh my God, they finally here. I can maybe relax a little bit." Maybe, and it maybe wasn't the primary thought, but in the back of her mind, that had to be something that ran through it. Like, okay, I got
to see this child be shot. I feel like this. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get out of here. To everybody watching this, you feel me? Especially if you on some bullshit. I feel like me and Toya been itching for a debate. And if you want to debate the law and debate about this specific instance, me and Toya, we taking all contenders. You feel me? White, black, liberal, moderate, leftist, conservative, all contenders. If you believe what happened in this instance in Ohio is supposed to happen, or you believe it was justifiable, holler at us.
Please.
Yeah.
I will love it.
Yeah, appreciate it, Lee. I hit you up tomorrow, bro.
Oh, yeah, appreciate y'all.
All right, brother.
Yeah. I think here, this is a conversation that I feel like we have to revisit too often. If it's anything I would be critical of, and I mean I can't even be critical of that, is calling the police in the first place. It's like ultimately, I don't see a scenario as much as we want as easy it is to justify calling the police. Too often you have the people who need the police end up being victimized by the police simply because of how they're seen, how the situation in particular look. You feel me? When it comes to like actually assessing the situation, like when you talk about that de-escalation, this is what I mean by like the question of being afforded the right to be able to explain what's going on. You know what I mean? Because this is the second situation where a taser should have been used. A taser would have been appropriate, but it wasn't. Right? You have mace, you have all type of things that's afforded to you, but it's still a confusion as to why these things aren't popping off. And because black people being killed has been so normalized, people jump to the justification as opposed to questioning why it had to go down like that in the first place.
Thanks.
Like, and I think that's what's more problematic outside of how we talk about the scenarios and like, damn, you know, it was this crazy situation. Like, it really wasn't. Like, this is a normal, regular ass situation, and an everyday cop. Now, in this instance, a life was taken, but did that use of force, you know what I'm saying? Like the use of like the power dominance, like the way that the cops feel like they have to really kind of put their foot down on the situation is something that niggas have to deal with every single fucking day. And this is the spectacular instance of the shit when it's really a normalized instance of what black people dealing with in America.
True. Are we able to put George backstage?
Is he not?
It was just this random body.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, it's weird. And I think the worst part of understanding like this overexertion of power and this overexertion of force toward black people is that it's not even like, damn, y'all only beat up white people, but y'all kill us. That would be different, right? That would be like, okay, y'all just beat the shit out of white people, but they live to tell the story later. No, they get walked out and taken to Burger King. The man who shot up the grocery store a couple weeks ago, walked him out in his drawers. He was bleeding, made sure he got medical attention before he was taken wherever he was supposed to go. The man who shot up the movies in Aurora, alive, sitting in prison somewhere, kind of minding his business, waiting for his chickens to roost. And so that's the shit that is really kind of infuriating. Jada said it in the comments. I've seen white people be able to walk away after murdering whole families, whole people, whole public places. Right. And that's what is bewildering to me is the gratuity. Right. This is what we call gratuitous violence. Let's go ahead and piece together some vocabulary in terms of anti-blackness. When we talk about anti-blackness as a phenomenon, right, which is different from racism, anti-blackness is the particular disdain, exclusion, and disproportional violence toward black people, black fleshed people. And there's a lot of conversation about black bodies and that conversation and terminology. We'll put a pin in that for right now, but black people, right? So anti-blackness, the reason why it's so bad, the reason why anti-blackness as a phenomenon has to be looked at for what it is because of the gratuity. Yeah. Right. The excessive nature by which black people are killed, the overkill that we experience as a result of anti-black state sanctioned violence. The shit is mind blowing.
And that's what I mean by what's normalized, like that type of the extra. You feel me? We know that if the shoe was on the other foot, if this is happening to anybody else, this wouldn't be like a question. We know we already know. We talked about what happened to the brother in the Somali, I think he was Somali American. The first Somali American police officer in Minneapolis, how they treated him when he killed that white woman. It wasn't no question. He's in jail right now.
He's the only other comparable case that they have too. Police officers being like Minneapolis just got bad luck, but the officers being charged in the state.
Well, no, I mean you have Minneapolis is also a very segregated city though, one of the most segregated cities in in the United States, and so.
It's when you have one of the most segregated, but one of the most diverse. So you got a whole bunch of different types of people out there, but the stratifications of those people are probably is very unique.
And so when you have that type of precedent, right, like it, and then when it's that blatant, what more conversation can be had? Like even trying to find the words to describe, like you can go back to 15, 16 different chop up episodes and like hear us deploy this language. You know what I'm saying? Because it's that serious. It's that ridiculous. You feel me? But we literally have to keep having the same conversation because like, this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like everything that we talk about, everything like in terms of, why we got into having these conversations in the first place, which is giving people a language to have them. You feel me? A broadening the conversation outside of what you know what I'm saying, you see on the social media timeline or on
Right.
on cable news. But the idea is like, damn, you feel me? How many more times do we have to explain how, like, hey, it happened again, y'all?
I mean, I no more. And this is where, you know, a lot of people, and I'm gonna slide over. See, Jeremy got there before I did. No conversation, speak their language, destruction. A lot of people was mad. They was upset. They was frustrated when and I know this is detached, but it's similar. When Maxine Waters said, you know, we should be more confrontational. If we don't get the news we want out of the Derek Chauvin decision, a lot of people was pissed off. And cool, you can have.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that because that's a part of that. That's part of the next chapter.
Well, regardless, feelings aside about those comments, nothing's worse than the ability to sit on somebody's neck for 9 minutes. Nothing's gonna beat pulling up on what is more confrontational than pulling up on somebody and 20 seconds later shooting them in the chest. What is more confrontational than shooting at somebody over expired tags and something hanging in their mirror because they was driving away from you? What's more confrontational than that? So I you know, political agendas and perceptions, like, I get it. Those are things that are at stake. But if we zoom out a little bit, right, and put reality, our cap of reality on, not our cap of political prowess and navigation. We get it. We have to be strategic. But come on now, she wasn't wrong. And so we understand the desire to blow shit up, to mess shit up, and that's just kind of where niggas be at. And I save that type of space for niggas. I do. I save that space for Black people to just be that mad. Because if white people can get that mad over hockey games and sporting events and Final Four appearances and NCAA shit, then
losing elections.
Hello, the anger and frustration with a more diverse America, January 6th. If they can hold space for that, I'm a hold space for niggas to be inexplicably upset with how they feel about some things. These comments is popping. And I want to holler at them real quick. Noel says, Micaiah was in foster care. She was already vulnerable and perhaps in a place she did not feel safe. Makes the utter failing of the system even more horrific, right? Like the underturn, the double entendreness, if you will, of the failure of the state. It means so many different things at the same time. Jada added on to the definition of gratuitous violence by reminding us that it's violence for the sake of violence. It's violence for violence's sake.
It's
right?
fucked up just to be fucked up.
Just for the sake of it, which is different than a lot of types of experiences that others face in our society. Gio, what's up, little bro? Says there's something to be said about a white cop entering an altercation between Black people and immediately choosing to shoot. These instances y'all are mentioning where white suspects live was actually in a white or commercial space, but in Makia's 911 call, I'm willing to bet the cops already knew they were coming into a Black domestic dispute, into probably a Black area. I'm editorializing there. Gio says, I'm thinking that the impetus to shoot is an act of first response, right? Already ready. I probably drove up one hand, ready to pop out and go to change to bang bang, right? So
I mean, because think about how, like, it's clipped. Like, when you pull up, you gotta open the door, unclip the shit from the holster, have it in the hand, aim it. That shit, that means that when you got there, you was already doing this. When you got there, you was already on that. You know what I'm saying?
And people will say, when you got there, you saw a knife and that triggered those instincts. I will raise the question again. What the hell are you learning at the academy? This seems textbook. Dominique said it a couple minutes ago. This was not a unique instance where anything phenomenal happened. Somebody is on the scene in an altercation with a weapon.
That's it.
Like y'all didn't go. There's no chapter for that.
And look, hey, no, and I bet they cover knives in 101. You feel me? Knives is like the first day of class. Like, how to disarm somebody with a knife.
Come on, man.
That's textbook. That's textbook. Now, I'm gonna say this in terms of, before we move on to the next top, in terms of, again, like somebody being in a vulnerable situation, a part of a vulnerable population. Toya, where do you draw the line when you are an individual who feel like you are in danger? You know what I'm saying? And really being like, I either got to deal with these people or I call the police. How do you reconcile that? Like, because when you see situations like this where the people who actually need the police end up being the people that's, you know what I'm saying, to end up taking their life, like, how do you reconcile still being able to place that phone call?
I won't pretend to have the perfect answer to that. I think that's one that we often go back to. And just on an argumentative level, we go back to that when we talk about defunding the police. And a lot of people's response to that is, well, shit, we have proof in the status quo. You want to talk about how do people, what happens if somebody is sexually assaulted? Well, nigga, y'all are failing in the Department of Sexual Assaults now. So whatever. A lot of people say, well, then, okay, what happens if somebody steals my this or breaks into my apartments? Well, the likelihood of y'all going and doing detective work and tracking my stuff down is in the dumpster. So it ain't like you solving those issues now. But I am looking for still, as somebody looking and exploring what it means to defund the police, the answer to, but this is what the community response will be. Because I get, various community funds, mutual aid to deal with some issues, but I am still dealing with how we deal with other things that need a more immediate response. That also, I think, though, community policing, but that means a complete paradigm shift in terms of what we mean when we say community. It does put the onus and accountability on us to start to say, some shit is going down with my neighbor, I'm outside. It's funk on site. We're coming through as soon as we hear somebody hooting and hollering. You know what I'm saying? So there are conversations in a world of realities. I live with 2 feet on the ground, right? Where we do have to have a meaningful conversation with what we need with rapid response. But I totally get the response where it's like, well, one thing we do know is that the status quo is not solving. That what we see right now is just not a thing. Because when we call, we get killed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a sticky situation.
Yeah, man. Yes, I guess as we start the beginning of a new situation, this is obviously not going to be the last time we have this conversation. I guess we move on to the next one. What we calling this next one, Toya?
We'll call this last one it's a social shock because this issue shook and rattled not only the American society but the globe. So we'll call it a social shock.
All right, let's get into it. The social chop. We talking about, of course, what people are in some instances considering good news, given the circumstances. That language has been tempered. You feel me? But Derek Chauvin was found guilty of all charges. It was like murder 3, which was, we'll talk about how weird just the murder 3 charge is in general. And then it was like reckless. It was 2 other charges. I think the murder 3 is the one that everybody was kind of more so invested in because that was, it's murder.
It's the biggest. I think that one too. That charge carries a sentence of 12 years or something like that. So that was the one that was going to be the heavy hitter.
Yeah. And so they hit him with all 3. Mm-hmm. First question, of course, did that surprise you?
Did it surprise me? Yes, because I live in 2020 America as a Black woman. And so I was shocked. I don't count money until it's in my hand. So I for damn sure wasn't finna take solace in, even with the level of convincingness of those testimonies that they were gonna buy over a jury. And so yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised that he didn't get a lesser charge or just a lesser charge like manslaughter 2 or manslaughter 3 as opposed to murder, second degree murder. I think in the third degree. Second, that doesn't make sense. Third degree murder. That didn't make sense. I was surprised they went as far as murder and thought they would have gave him lesser charges. So I was pretty shocked. I will say that.
Yeah. Nah, you know what? Like I said, I wasn't. Derek Chauvin had to be made an example of. Period.
Mm-hmm.
He had to be made an example of. Matter of fact, even there's a Fox News host, Greg Gutfeld, who was on a panel on Fox News and straight up said, like, I'm glad that he was found guilty of all charges because I didn't want my neighborhood to get looted again.
Mm-hmm.
Period. I think it was. I
think somebody tweeted last night too. It tore me up. Somebody said, "I'm back home. I got to take my looting clothes off." I said,
"You feel me?" Hold on. I feel like last week niggas was talking about shit. He was going, or a couple weeks ago, he was talking about he's going to get a PS5. Niggas was about to hit the streets. I mean, and people was looking at that as a possibility, and of course, like, duh. You feel me? Like, why not? It happened again. It was even more blatant and even more, as Toya has explained today, gratuitous than it has been in the past. Why not?
Yeah.
You feel me? And so I think ultimately they had to. This is post-Trump. Like how we had like that post America Obama that we thought we was gonna have. They actually gonna try to give us that post Trump, because right now they're trying to prove like, hey, we not the same white people. We not the same white people we was. Donald Trump then kind of we didn't put the mirror. We didn't see how we act. We running up on the Capitol. They got us looking bad. We not the same white people. They had to convict him. He had to get all three. Period. So ultimately for me, I was just like, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, any good happy feelings I had were killed because or kiboshed. I won't ironically use the phrase killed because Micaiah was killed around the same time the decision was released in Columbus. And so that was really disheartening. But you know, I think, and what I listened to the coverage in NPR. I was in the gym when they were talking about it. So I was listening to the coverage on NPR. They were there on site, you know, recording people. And a lot of people's sentiments was, this is something to celebrate, right? It's a moment that we do have to take to recognize that justice was almost served. But, you know, we still have to recognize that this is a small fraction, a small sliver, and a slice of what we need to see. All right, Ethereum Beauty, have a good night, handle your business. But, you know, we take it for what it is. You do have to take the good. Social life within social death, right, Joe? That's one of the words. And Wilderson's and I think Moten and Orlando Patterson, they all kind of have an agreement. I won't say they have an agreement, but there is scholarship about anti-Blackness that talks about social life within social death, right? And so we got to have those moments. But
Jared Sexton, can't forget about him, Sexton.
Okay, but we're not going to be. Our perceptions are not diluted by the realities of the situation.
Yeah. I think that's what they want, though. That's the conversation they want to have. And I think we talked about this last week in terms of Dante Wright.
Yeah.
Because now you have a juxtaposition. They have a floor now, right? To be honest, initially there was no, in terms of like police violence and them killing niggas, there was no floor. It was just like, damn, it happens. Now in this post-Trump America, they have a floor. Derek Chauvin is the floor. Putting your knee on a nigga neck for 9 minutes is the floor. You feel me? So it's like anything above that, then you got an argument. Like I think.
Yeah, I think the tricky thing for me is that the system has not provided a corrective. If y'all recognize and don't forget that the black woman, the young black lady, the teenager who recorded the videos is the reason that we know the truth about this. You know, that's another reason why I can't get excited about decisions and locks up ending, because there wasn't a cop who stood up and said, you know, this is too much. I want to tell the truth. There wasn't, you know, anybody outside of the police chief who in the case, but I want you out of the gate to say, I didn't hire somebody to come on my force and act like this. I want you penalized to the highest extent of life. And I don't care about having to let the details of the investigation. All of that stuff, playing politics is stupid to me. You know what I'm saying? Instead, a young black woman is the person who blew the truth off of it by having the audacity and nerve to sit there and record for 9 minutes. So that's why I can't get lost or trapped or caught up in any of these correctives or perceptions or correctness, because none of the right people said the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, because it's those types of situations to where it's like we was talking about earlier, it happens, and so they don't look at it as a situation was like, oh, somebody with a knife, they was attacking people, they got shot. That's not a story.
You're right.
Right. It's like when you see what happened, when you see the people, not just like, you know, a police report, but when you see the name, like when you see like how young these people are, like you see a face, you see like somebody really getting their life taken away from them, then it's not just a police report. It's not just a statistic. You know what I'm saying? It's somebody real life. Now, the interesting thing about the conviction is that Maxine Waters, as you had brought up, was making statements about not being satisfied. Like guilty or not, like really just kind of sitting back and allowing things to continue how they've been going. We can't do that. And that this ain't the first time Maxine Waters said some shit like this. So I'm surprised that they surprised.
And she said the same thing with the Rodney King decision back in '92. I watched a clip of her, same taper with a nice little
you know what I'm saying? Touched up.
Top and was just like, I don't condone violence, but I absolutely understand the anger and frustration these people feel. And if you don't, then
without a doubt,
you out of touch.
Without a doubt. And so What do you think about the judge of the Derek Chauvin trial making a statement seeming to suggest that it would be possible for an appeal on Derek Chauvin's behalf due to the statements that Maxine Waters made?
You know,
what was behind that? What was behind that?
I mean, I think, first, perceptions of objectivity, right? So also just kind of being honest about the possibilities of those things and kind of laying it out there. I don't really think there was a motive behind the judge's statements. I think that in that same breath, though, here's why I didn't like what he said. Joe Biden, and I want to go back up and look at, somebody mentioned Joe Biden's comments in the statement, right?
Shout out to the boy Stacey. I got him up there.
Yeah. Not being funny, but when has any president come out and said he's praying for the right decision? Sounds less like video evidence was so compelling they had to save face. And in thinking about Joe Biden's comment, one of his justifications for making it was that he knew that the jurors were sequestered and wouldn't be able to hear his comments, which is why he spoke so freely, right? So I think the same logic suffices with Maxine Waters. The jurors are sequestered. They can't hear anything. They don't have access to social media. This is a high profile case. They're not letting nothing get to these people. Right. So I the truth of the matter is, I think he said it, I guess, just to show objectivity, but it's also like, don't be boosty about it, because the president has already identified the truth of the statement, the truth of the situation, which is these people are not going to hear these comments anyway. So what does it matter? But like Stacey G said, because we don't trust the system, not a fan of it, don't think it works the way it's supposed to, and works the exact opposite, it is a possibility that the judge is foreshadowing what is to come to show the strategy of the defense that might get up there and say, these politicians meddling in what should be objective cases, throw it out. So it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think it, I don't know. I ain't gonna lie. I felt the way. Like, I'm not a conspiracy theory nigga, you feel me? But I do feel like, he did everything but suggested. You know what I mean? Like, how are you admonishing Maxine Waters from your bench?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, is she gonna hear about it because you made the statement publicly? Yeah, but everybody gonna hear about it. You feel me? And like, really, all you doing is creating a justification for the appeal. Now, was there going to be an appeal file anyway? Of course, right? But now there is a baseline, right? Like, to the point where a judge from his bench had to speak on the appropriateness of a politician like Maxine Waters to be making the type of statement she's making. You feel me? Like, that alone, I think that it at best, I mean, at worst, it encourages it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? At best, I should say, it encourages it. You feel me? At worst, it's more so like he's like, hey, do your thing. But I mean, I don't want to take it that far. But I just feel like it created a scenario and a situation where they can then say a sitting judge felt it was appropriate to point out how it was inappropriate for Maxine Waters to say what she said, and that kind of creates more issues. But I do want to ask you this though. I want to get your understanding on what this means for post-Trump America. Mm-hmm. Right? Is that something that is it something that is a productive? Is it something that we should attach ourselves to, like moving outside of? Okay, you got the white people that's trying to distance themselves. They're trying to create a new narrative around how America as a society situates itself with black people and the people who hate black people. You know what I'm saying? Is that something that black people should attach themselves to?
No. I think that systems and structures are what they are, and they function how they're supposed to function, regardless of the consciousness of the people operating in them. That's why we can watch tapes and listen to Trayvon Martin scream for his life and know the truth about Breonna Taylor's murder and still get the outcomes that we have. Is that it doesn't matter how people feel. It matters how systems are set up, how laws are set up, how institutions are set up. And so this leads me to end up agreeing with Stacey G. Stacey, I agree with you about Marita Holmes' comment. I feel that if they charge every one of the cops present, that would make the police really police the police. Until we have extreme measures like that, where somebody could be the neck be set on for 9 minutes, and every single cop that was around there in the vicinity to let that happen and never stopped it is charged because they all were negligent and failed on the job. Then we can start being excited about white people aligning themselves with systemic and structural change and pushing. But I don't see that happening until we have institutional changes that then white people can feel more comfortable aligning themselves behind. Because white people like rules. They like the framework. They like the text of shit, and then being able to cozy up with aligning with that. That cognitive dissonance is what troubles them. So if you start changing the way institutions are, then more white people will have the nerve to build up the consciousness to start to really push a lot of real shit through.
Here's the problem, Toya.
What's the problem, Damo?
That's already considered illegal. If you are, for example, if you committing a felony, right, and you committing a felony, in the course of that felony, somebody ends up being killed, right? Everybody that was a part of that, like if you in the car while a drive-by is taking place, everybody in the car is getting charged with. So whoever get killed in that drive-by, everybody in the car getting charged.
Somebody might get a little couple more years, but everybody getting something.
Yeah, everybody getting something. Y'all all getting a piece of this. You feel me? Everybody that made it possible, everybody that empowered the action of the officer. You feel me? But you know, I get this is the little bit of the shielding. You know what I'm saying, that the officers get. It's like, well, you wasn't the ones that did it. You know what I mean? But again, that's a part of creating that difference, right? Like you create a baseline, you create a bottom, a basement. And say like, all right, anything this and below, like this is what we not fucking with.
Right.
But when you talk about institutions though, like explain what you mean by that. Because I feel like ultimately,
okay,
we look at these things as like interpersonal, right? Like we look at it as just like decisions that we make. But like when you say it's institutional, I mean that adds something to that. So I think you should break that down.
So what I'm explaining is things like qualified immunity has to go.
Yeah.
Because some people believe that being a police officer is just as hard as anything else. And sometimes you have to make hard decisions and judgment calls about things. And so police do deserve to be protected. So I understand, which means that sometimes I can look at reality in the face and still say, well, they have a risky job. So I get it, right? That complicates the conscience that white people are trying to build. Because they still feel like because laws are set up to justifiably understand things, that institutionally, right, that gives them some leeway. So I must be able with my conscience to give them some leeway too, right? So if we take away qualified immunity, then you have police officers operating on the same playing field as doctors who can be taken to jail for malpractice, for inappropriately or incorrectly doing their job, even though they thought they was doing something in the best interest of a patient. It can still be proven that you don't get protected just because you thought you made the right decision. Who else is subject to that? Oh, people like lawyers who, if they are found to have ineffectively defended their client, they can be sued or be disbarred or whatever for not
providing consequences. It's consequences.
Adequate to your negligence and to your malpractice. But police officers, for some reason, don't get that. Right? We look at doctors and say, hell no, if you do a surgery wrong, if you botch a surgery, if you mess that up, you out of here. You lose your job, you lose your license, you done. Same thing with attorneys. But for whatever reason, we look at police officers and say, that's a really hard job. It must be really complicated to make these quick decisions. You were qualified enough to do the job, so we should just forgive you if you mess it up. No, change the conscience of white people by changing the institutions that they ascribe to. Why? Because white people love policies and procedures and frameworks and laws. They like shit to make sense. So give them some shit that makes sense consistently. That way they don't deal with the cognitive dissonance of saying, I know how I feel, but this is what the law says, because that's what they like.
I think we go as far as we got to have our own institutions. We have to, because I think ultimately there's a base. The base for their institutions has to do with the racial hierarchy and perceiving black people a particular way. And so to change their institutions, I feel like you got to change like them. Like you got to change the underlying culture, and that's a fight that we just not gonna win. Yeah. And so ultimately, I think like really, and this kind of gets into the conversation of like self-policing. You know what I'm saying? And that type of shit. It's just like, it shouldn't be those people moderating these situations. You know what I mean? Like though the circumstances that are involved, whether you talking about police making the decisions and how they making them, like when they're being held accountable, it shouldn't be like the people that they work for doing that, because they have less of an incentive to hold them accountable, because then everybody got to be held accountable.
Exactly.
And if they all doing fuck shit, then I mean it's just all, you know what I'm saying, shit stream downhill. You feel me? And so if we hold one of them accountable, then we got to change the whole, and they just can't do it. And so ultimately it has to be us making decisions about us. It has to be us pulling up. You know what I'm saying? When it's issues in the community, like somebody that look like you and me that's concerned with, like, hey, I want to de-escalate this. I want everybody to go home. I'm here to make sure everybody go home. Right? That's the whole purpose of getting somebody else involved. And so until we have us making them decisions, then we go, like, this is the reality that we're gonna keep having to deal with. And what's interesting, I want to get your perception on InFact, the what's the Not Fucking Around Coalition.
You said what?
InFact.
What is that?
What your percent? The Not Fucking Around Coalition? The brothers that was you ain't heard about them?
Mm-mm.
The brothers that was
surveilling that black lady's house when she was being harassed?
Yeah.
I didn't know they had a name. I didn't know they had a snazzy jazzy name like that.
Yeah, nah, they got some whole shit. It's called the InFact Not Fucking Around Coalition. It's just like Grandmaster J is dude name. And so like the whole idea behind like black people policing like black communities is like they really taking that shit serious, and they showing up in certain places strapped, of course. But you still have, like, even internally, you have people questioning whether or not that's appropriate. But then you got motherfuckers that'll call 911, and you know what I'm saying, given the circumstances that we run into. So
I think that there is plenty of complete merit, right? I believe in black nationalism. I believe in black Pan-Africanism. I believe that black people should have the proprietorship and the leadership and the ability to be sovereign and govern over their own people and their own politics. I'll say what I've always said. Black people have to get on the same page about what we are prioritizing and how we feel about certain things, because there are intercommunal disagreements about how we deal with and live amongst each other, how we respond to certain intercommunal issues, the legitimacy that we give to certain people, right? Who should be these police officers? There's a lot of skepticism about black men and their ability to lead in our communities, but we know that men are disproportionately police officers in these instances. Do we have the same levels of respect, the equal opportunities for trans black folk, for black women, for queer folk? Like, what do these things start to look like? And really, I mean, we would have to change the entire face of what it means to police, right? We might end up with completely different language outside of the police for our communities. All right. So there's a lot of layers to pull back and structural re-engineering that starts with what black people are doing and what we want to do and what we want out of these types of systems.
So, I mean, as we round it out, I want to ask you this. What should be our response?
To what?
Derek Chauvin. The guilty of all charges. This obviously meaning something, culturally at least, because we could be pessimists, and because that's really, we've really been engaging in our pessimism conversation, kind of going more so into like, okay, how this is just kind of like a part of shit, you know, it is what it is type. But like this clearly means something culturally though. Like you got the president chiming in, you have politicians making statements. So it's and again, that's why I keep bringing up this like post-Trump America, because I think there is a very blatant attempt to use Trump as a way to shift into a not necessarily post-racial, because I think white people understood what they made their mistake there, but a dare I say a racially literate. Okay. Would you give them that? Would you give them the idea that culturally something like what happened with George Floyd is pushing white people in American culture to be more racially literate?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This decision makes me feel the same way stimulus checks make me feel. This is cute. This does not mean you understand or care to dismantle the system of capitalism, right? So You have equalized things. You have given people equal access to a certain amount of money. When I swipe my card, I'm gonna get the warm feelies and like, oh shit, I didn't have to labor for this and work to the bone like I do every dollar I spent.
When you see them 2 zeros, you feel good
about my strength of it being mine because the government is doing what the hell it's supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So I'm tingling for that second, but then I move on and come back to reality and see all of the other implications and examples of why capitalism sucks. And I'm reminded again that I don't care that the government gave me a check. Similarly, it's like, okay, I get the warm and feelings. I reserve space for this moment. I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen the same way I can't pretend the stimmy didn't hit. I'm not going to pretend the decision wasn't made, and I won't not, rebel in that moment. But I'm not.
You're going to spend that money. Right?
That doesn't communicate to me that a system has learned anything or readjusted or recalibrated or broken down and rebuilt a new orientation to recognizing Black life. I'm not stupid. I'm not moved. Within hours, we got we did with Ma'Khia Bryant. So I could be a fool, but I'm not one. And so again, the stimmy, this decision, same feeling, warm and bubbly, warm and fuzzy for a second. Come back to reality, put our feet back on the ground, and recognize it ain't shit changed. Like
a blind hawk could find an acre.
Exactly.
This is where, and I take a little bit of pushback for this, right? But I have an explanation. I do think that U.S. culture is becoming more racially literate. Let me explain why, though. It has to, in order to maintain itself. The uniqueness about whiteness and racism outside of like other forms of fascism and shit that's existed is its ability to morph, to look different, to change, to adapt, right? Whiteness and racism has always been adaptable. It's never been so rigid to where it will completely undermine itself and shatter and break itself by not being able to adapt with whatever's, you know what I'm saying, the dominant force, the majority force, right? So like, if you look at like the example I kind of like to use is the fact that they freed niggas. You feel me? They freed the slaves in order to win a bigger fight. And so if you look at it from that perspective, they're in a post-Trump America, they have to become racially literate. That's why you got the president of the United States speaking on it. Even though he has less of a burden to overcome because it's just another white man speaking on it as opposed to Obama, where there's a responsibility associated with him speaking on it. But now it's more business as usual. You feel me? But what you see here is you have companies sending out memos talking about being more, taking a day off and reflecting and respecting and understanding. And you have diversity initiatives and you have people really spending money to get people to talk about it. You got to understand this. You got to internalize this. Now, I mean, I'll be telling you, right? Like you trying to get into that field. Like, matter of fact, hold on. If we be real, shout out to conscious.
Here's the thing.
Hold on. But let me get this example. You got it. You know what I'm saying? Let me get this example. The whole market consciously, the whole consciously franchise is built off white people trying to learn. They're trying to get taught. You feel me? The whole idea, even these conversations that we having right now.
Right.
Hey, if you gonna cut the check, it's a conversation we can have.
Yeah.
You feel me? Now, I'm not saying, and you got it, right? I'm not saying that this is a benevolent thing. I'm not saying that this is something that they're doing out of trying to create a genuine appreciation. No, they have to. They're being forced to. And if you don't learn it, and if you don't engage with it in a way that is respectful, right? That is understanding, that is tolerant, right? There are consequences.
Period.
Whiteness is going to adapt to that. Go ahead.
You said a lot. So agreement, and I was ready to bust the last. You kept going. I was like, well, that sounds reasonable. So now I'm just like discombobulated. This is what I'm saying about it. Because I think we ultimately agree. You know how you got there troubled me.
Yeah. How I got there troubled you.
How you got my nerves bad, but I think we ended up at the same place. Nigga, I cannot tell y'all how many homework assignments I did because in the household that I grew up in. If I didn't do them, I was going to get my ass beat. So, like, the reality of the situation is, don't mistake. And you said it at the end. This is not a perception of genuineness. This is, you have to do this, or else you are going to succumb to the power dynamic that you have ascribed to. When I think about the various types of power, and you all look them up, there are 5. The one I'll specifically focus on is reward power, right? Which is what Black people and the liberal community in general has over consumership, right? Which is the ability to reward or take away reward if you don't do something that aligns with what I want you to do. So in that regard, if you're playing the game right, if you really know what you're doing and how you're doing it, you're going to be up to speed on these things, because either the bag is going to be lost or you don't want to hear from these niggas. One of the two, right? So I look at, for example, the corporate responsibility of the Raiders, by the way, which if y'all were on Twitter yesterday, I saw the Raiders.
They tried. Did they not try though?
They tried.
They tried, right?
I mean, but I think this only demonstrates the high stakes nature of all of this shit. The shift that white supremacy and a white supremacist nation and consumership is having to do to keep up, because the damn gonna tweet. Let me tell y'all what they tweeted. These Raiders is gonna tweet after the decision was released. I can breathe. Niggas said what?
They tried, but see,
talking about.
Toya, and that's where the bag is. They know, like, they tried, right? The fact that they tried, they're not gonna try and be like, oh, well, damn, we fucked up. Fuck it. Let's go full racist. Like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Fuck Black people, right? They're gonna be like, okay, let's reassess. Somebody's gonna get a bag from that. That's a market, right? Like, educating people who make stupid mistakes like that gets niggas paid. You feel me? And because that means that that's something that they're willing to invest in, because they see the value in that information. And the comment that Dr. Dancy said was that they are not learning to free. They want to speak the language, but to preserve white supremacist power. Exactly. But that's why. Yeah. But that's why knowing it. That's why having that language, right? Knowing that, you know what I'm saying? Like knowing that, what? Epistemology, you feel me? Like, it's situating yourself in that. You know how we talked about undercommons and shit in debate, right? Like having spaces like outside of, like, where white people engage themselves, like where white people are kind of like pulling shit, right? We talked about that intelligibility, right? Not being able to come across in ways to be surveyed and surveilled. But what happens when they start cutting the check for it? What happens when they learn the language because they got niggas that's willing to teach it to them?
Hey, it's a weird trade-off, right? I mean, honestly, as somebody trying to get into the EDI field myself, who is already kind of at the outskirts of it, on looking in at the whole industry of it and really wanting to be a part of it, I get it, because it is a bag to be secured. As Dr. Dancy said, when it's all said and done, it does nothing for Black liberation.
Nothing.
Right,
Nothing.
and really buying into these corporate, because I mean the thing about corporations is corporations gone corporation, right, and humans gone human, and so when it's all said and done, all of these gestures, right, it's very seldom we find organizations that top to bottom have any meaningful orientation toward any of these gestures. That's why we can look at Amazon, pay you $15 an hour and still have you piss in a water bottle and then lie about it. Right. And so they will champion one thing, but then it's like, look, okay, we looking at the tabletop. Let's look up under the tablecloth and see what's happening underneath the table. Right. And shit looks completely different. So all of this to say, I'm not moved. I'm not persuaded. I'm not swayed. Corporations, federations, learning the language of Blackness and Black liberation and Black resistance. They're going to do it because I do agree with you, Dominique. They are always going to be attempting to readjust themselves, to recalibrate, and to be more covert in how they perfect their white supremacist agenda. We just got to be like the man in the, what commercial was that? They said, oh, you got to be quicker than that.
I think that's a Geico commercial.
You got to be like the Geico commercial. We got to say you got to be quicker. Right. Yeah. And that's why I endorse the turn up in every city, regardless of what decision we get over here. I hope Columbus in their own way got theirs in yesterday. I hope that Adam Toledo and them in Chicago went ahead and tore something up and messed something up. I don't mind. I don't care. And that's because there's nothing to be benefited from our silence and our complicity with these decisions. And we're not surprised.
I'll say this, and then we could go ahead and do the thing. When we look at what happened with Derek Chauvin, please understand that we confuse injustice with accountability. Accountability is a baseline, right? Accountability should be the norm. I mean, broke clock is right twice a day. Yep. A blind hawk could find an acre. Okay, they get it right sometimes. All right, but this is in no way, shape, or form a reflection of anything changing in this country. Right? It doesn't like that. This is not an example of that, and we can't let them use it as an example of that. Be happy. The chop up will never tell you not to be happy. Goddamn it, be happy. You feel me? Yes, they got it. They did get it right, right? But I wouldn't have mind if niggas said, you know what, we still gonna fuck something up anyway. Just a few. I mean, I wouldn't have tripped off that. You know what I mean? Because I do think that they need to also know that this ain't enough.
Hey, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said riot is a language of the unheard, and it works for people who have selective hearing too. Yeah. So just because you heard us this time don't mean we won't turn up, because you probably won't hear us the next. We not moved by that.
Exactly. Hey, and y'all, everybody out there that's getting that diversity and inclusion bag, get that motherfucker. You feel me? Get that. Hey, that's there for a reason. You know what I mean? But just remember who you dealing with.
Yeah.
All right. So we out this thing. We appreciate y'all joining us. Make sure y'all are subscribed to the Chop Up Show. If y'all watching this on the Conscious Lee channel, make sure y'all subscribe to the Chop Up Show on YouTube. If you watching the Chop Up Show on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Conscious Lee. Make sure y'all following us on Facebook. Follow us at the Chop Up Pod.
Chop Up Show Pod at Chop Up Show Pod. Chop Up Show Pod.
At Chop Up Show Pod on Twitter.
It's a great time for y'all to go. If y'all joined in at the end of the show, we got a whole thing going on where we're trying to get the mayor of Louisville out of there for his negligence and mishandling of the Breonna Taylor case. So if y'all joined the show late, it's cool. Well, here's what I need you to do. Go get on Twitter and go to Chop Up Show Pod right now. If not, get on our Instagram and go look at this picture that was posted that I want y'all to go check out right here. Go get all the details, get out the text. Go get all the details right here for #FireFisher. I want y'all to share this post. Put it in your stories and get more people moving. But there's an email option, there's a tweet option, there's a call option. We are demanding to get Greg Fisher out of office and that he be kicked out by the board of mayors across the country for his negligences and actions down there. Now, y'all know the police got off. Y'all know Daniel Cameron got off. We got to hold somebody accountable for what happened to Breonna. So fight with us and go ahead and jump over there and do that for us. That's y'all's action item for tonight as the Chop Nation. We need y'all to go ahead and jump over and get that retweeted, make some noise, get some disruptions out there so we can get it going. The other thing I wanted to say is shout out to Dr. Dancy, who I ain't seen up in the mix for a second, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
Comments. We know we got love for you. Nico is in the building. Shout out to Nico for jumping in, saying what's up. Tiffany in the building. Shout out to my sister Rings Ablaze. Said what's up. Who else? Jeremy slid in here. Pinky Ford been here since the beginning, but definitely dropping comments. I seen Brittany slide in toward the end of the show saying what's up. Khadijah's in this thing. Lester J is in this thing. We, got love for all of y'all. Everybody, it don't matter what time y'all slide in. We know we're not on our normal night. It's a Friday night. I mean, it's a Wednesday night, and so we switch it up.
Right.
But we appreciate y'all for jumping in and tagging in with us and showing love like y'all always do. And baby Huey is in the building.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? To see you. I say what's up to the boy. You feel me? Huey wanted to say bye. Well, really, he was getting on his mama nerves. So she was like, here, you've been on there for an hour. Take your son. Yeah. But he need that daddy energy to go to bed. You know what I mean? That daddy energy let him know, lay down.
I'm gonna say I tried to go visit my nephew this weekend, and Dominique won't answer my phone call. So y'all,
we talked about that.
I want to tell the audience, tell our listeners that I tried to go see my nephew in Long Beach, California, and I'm 2 shots in, fully vaccinated, and the man wouldn't answer the phone. So when we talk about broken families, sometimes niggas like this be the one. Yeah. And I'm gonna do it out Huey. I love you. I'm gonna see you soon.
Yeah, look, you gonna see you soon. She gonna see you soon. Hey, we out of here though. Y'all know what it is. This is the Chopper. Let's go. Say bye, Hugh.
Me, my guys, we really live. Lord, forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside. And that's in the console. Keep the semi when I ride. Let off Henny when I drive. In the city, we gon'